Good evening, witches.
Hey, witches. Welcome to tonight's topic of Feng Shui Part 1. For everybody who's already joined us early, well, actually on time, we always give people 5 minutes to come in, but I do want you guys to know that we're going to do a screen share tonight for the first time ever, so I'm sure it's going to go perfectly. But we're going to be sharing the energy map, the energy centers of a house called the Bagua. And when you are ready for access to the downloadable that goes with this meeting, and we'll be adding to this same one, right? We're not doing 3, we're just adding to this.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So next week and the following week, we'll just be adding to this same document, but you can find all the notes and resources in that document that is on the meetup. So it's just in our Google Drive, ready for you to download whenever you want, print off, make notes on, whatever you want to do.
So to get the documents, tip for tonight, which is the Agua map and the Feng Shui energy centers, go to tonight's meetup, and in the description, you'll see a link to those 2 documents, and you can get those directly from there.
Because what we'd like you to do, if you can make all 3 meetings, and if you can't, having it is good if you're going to listen to these meetups later. But once you get that map printed out and you start to figure out where energy centers lie in your house, it'll be really helpful for next week and the 3rd week, because we're going to go over the energy centers associations, what you should find, what you shouldn't find in them. So things you might want to immediately move. And then in our 3rd week, the best part or the most fun part for me is like the fixes. All right, so now I know Feng Shui. How do I fix my house to be more Feng Shuiable? I don't know. There's not a word for that, but to create more energy flow within your home by looking at your space and figuring out how to harmonize with it.
Yes, harmony. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Balance, harmony, things that bring you joy.
Yep.
If anybody's seen that Marie Kondo, I can't remember.
I've never watched
it.
I know who she is, but I have not.
A little show on Netflix.
I have not watched her. So, so I'm going to go ahead and start, because we've got 17 people here, and I don't see too many joining. So you can watch that.
All right.
But so welcome to week 1 of Feng Shui. There's a lot to cover. So this is 3 weeks of classes. Mm-hmm. And this week, we're going to talk about what Feng Shui is, give you an exercise that you can do, and show you the map, the energy centers, and then give you some homework to do for next week. Yeah. So,
but first, the principles.
But first, we're going to talk about the principles of Feng Shui. So the Feng Shui principles are as without, so within. And I'm going to let Jayme give her definition of what that means. Because when I think of as without, so within, what does that mean to you? So how do you interpret that?
For me, the as without part is where we're eliminating the unnecessary things. And it's as without externally, right? And then the other part is so within. So when you're bringing about balance, if you have less things outside of yourself to focus on, you can focus more on your internal happiness and state of well-being. So that's what the saying means to me, for me. If you find your own interpretation of it or how to apply it to your life, fantastic. It just needs to have a semblance of balance that you bring within your external world and your internal world.
Okay. All right. So the word Feng Shui actually means wind, water. That's what Feng Shui means. And the Feng Shui word for energy is Qi, C-H-E-E, not like the Chia Pet or your coffee
chai,
which I always want to say chai, but it's Qi, C-H-E-E.
Well, C-H-I, but the way you pronounce it.
The way you pronounce it,
C-H-E-E.
So you can remember Qi. It's an ancient Chinese traditional practice using energy forces to harmonize individuals with their surrounding environment. So you're using energy forces to harmonize you with your surroundings. And Feng Shui started with landscapes and bodies of water. So this is back before we had houses with front doors and things like that.
Yeah.
It was all earth focused. Because she has the same patterns as wind and water, someone practicing Feng Shui can understand the flow to improve wealth, happiness, long life, and family. Feng Shui is practiced throughout the world, although not always under the name of Feng Shui.
So we, as witches, practice Feng Shui in ways that we are always trying to find harmony and balance within ourselves, within our home, but with planet Earth. For me, with Mother Earth, I think that that's where, as witches, we always come back to connecting with the planet, with the stars. So the Feng Shui practice, they have the earliest recordings of like 4,000 BC, right? So that's like 6,000 years ago, long time that they've been using this. And the way that they would go about finding where they should build cities is like these ancient city planners were Feng Shui practitioners that would come upon, new land and look at the environment, where the hills were, where the river ran through, like where were the trees, and they would assess the energy flow in that area according to the things that were geographical. So this is a geomancy, which is basically divination of earth. So one of the earth divinations. But so they would come upon these places, and if they found that, say, the wind was always hitting up against the mountain, they would say, so this place has blocked chi, this has a blocked energy, things can't flow through here freely. And when they did start to build bigger cities and like buildings, all of the construction of the buildings were taken into account as far as to let the energy continue to flow through the town the way that the wind and water flowed through before people actually came. So this is why this is why the balance is like living in harmony with the earth and the elements. That's why, as a witch, I absolutely love this practice because it speaks to my soul as far as, I have Virgo rising, so let's get decluttered, let's organize, let's keep things like clean and clear. And then just living in harmony with the earth where you don't have excess and you're not, I guess you could go from extreme hoarding to, just being like overusing stuff. So one of the things that they did when they were mapping out these cities a long time ago, which people still do today, I do this on very important dates, is not only did they look at the environment that they were going to do these events in, but they also looked at what was happening in the stars. So one of the things that we will connect in week 2 and 3 is astrology that can also be incorporated or has similar ties to the Feng Shui practice, because they have the Chinese astrology that they use, but we can use Western astrology to really bring this around and say, oh, I can see how these things connect or similarities. And it's not like written in stone. You can make changes if you don't feel like certain signs go with certain spaces, but it allows us to build practice on top of practice and just see those correspondences all the way through. So some big things, you guys. Number one, I am a clean freak and I get it from her. We're both Virgo rising, so we are so big on spaces and cleanliness and not keeping clutter. But then we have secret stashes of unused things, We don't have junk drawers per se, but we will have boxes that we keep of things that we're like, we just haven't dealt with that yet. That's just somewhere else. That's her Scorpio, that's my Pisces. Our emotional side's like, I don't want to deal with that. So, but when I go into people's houses to assess for Feng Shui, one of the things that I'm looking at is like, where do things pile up? What does their environment say about maybe their mental health or things that they might have going on? And these are things that we're going to cover definitely in week 3, because we're going to be looking at how to solve problems. But your environment or the environment that you go into for other people can give you clues about their internal state in their external environment. So this is more of that as without, so within. So it goes the opposite, which doesn't sound good if you say it the other way around. So you have to look at your environment and be honest with yourself, especially since we know, right? We know that when we pass, we leave this physical plane and everything that we acquired in it. So what are these things really serving us? Like, how are they serving us? Do they bring us joy? Are they providing something that is meaningful? Or is it just shit laying around? Too many sales, too many good finds at Goodwill. And you're like, I was going to do something with that.
Well, and sometimes we just don't want to deal with our crap. So I went to visit my brother a couple of months ago, And I had never been to his house, and he's probably lived in this house for 10 years. And he literally has boxes stacked up in his front room from when he moved in that are just sitting there that he's never unpacked.
I didn't know that.
I know you haven't been
I
there
haven't
yet.
been to his house. I don't
But
know.
when I go in there, I'm like, what is all this stuff? So basically the living room is still unpacked boxes from when he moved into this house, which to me is just, I mean, when you think about the energy of that, like, first of all, you're not
Energy.
dealing with some shit because you got stuff in boxes.
Mhm.
Second of all, why do you have it if you haven't unpacked it for 10 years?
You haven't needed it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's really hard. That is, I think that's one of the toughest things is like letting go of things that have sentimental value to us or some other, you know, okay, I'm going to go with the clothes thing, right? Because I've been everything from like a size 10 to a size 20, right? So I always had these like clothes that were size 10. So I'm going to one day I'm going to get back into those size 10 clothes, right? And that box hung around in my closet. And when I would see it, what did that make me feel like? Actually, it made me feel like a damn failure because I didn't get back into that size. So like, how is that serving you? So when you look around your own home, which is one of the exercises we're going to have you do, is like, what is the stuff in your home? How does it make you feel? And I think, Jayme, you've got something to say about look at the objects in your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, for me, when I assess people's homes, I look for them to explain why items are there. And it's not meant to be judgmental or harsh or anything, but it's like, tell me how this object serves you or brings you joy. Or when you hear them talk about things, they're like, yeah, well, somebody got that for me. And then, my kid broke it, so I glued it. And it's just still here because what do I do with it? And there's this guilt around it almost. So I was like, all right, well, that's stuck energy and we can release it in a way. That's why I mentioned Marie Kondo, because she's always like, tell it you love it and then let it go. Like release it. Like, I don't need you anymore. I've grown on. I've grown on. I've grown up from this, or I've moved on from that. But to make you feel like you're not just giving it away and it never had a purpose, that you show it an appreciation for a moment and then you pass it on and say, I hope you can find a home where somebody can use you more efficiently, or, if you can recycle it in some kind of way. But I guess one of the big things we were going to say is like, do you look around and see random objects, or do you see objects that really nourish your soul? Like, I had to redo my 16-year-old's room because he has a lot of stuck energy in there. He's obviously an angry 16-year-old, so that's part of it. But I had to start bringing in crystals and candles and a singing bowl. And like, I had to put in some plants. I'm like, you just need these things in your life, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Your energy is stuck in here and I need to get it moving. So I come in and force these things in his room because I tell him, I was like, this is an energy center of my home as well. So you can't just live like a pig because it affects my energy.
That is your helpful people gua?
That is my helpful people and travel gua.
Travel gua. His
so
room.
My energy center that my son lives in is for helpful people. And he's on probation right now, you guys. That's not very helpful. I have police officers that have to come to my house sometimes and check on him to make sure he's home by curfew. It is not helpful. So I'm trying to move energy around in there to help him get unstuck or work through things.
Well, and I love some of the things that you did. So we'll talk about fixes later on. But when you have, so of course, there's like ideal things to have in spaces, and then ideal things not to have in spaces. For instance, like elements like wood and water and metal and things like that, right? But then there's fixes because sometimes you can't get away from that. Like I have a pool outside my window that's outside my fame. Well, fame is fire, and water and fire don't go together. So to counteract that or to fix it, I've got red outside the window with red plants. Well, I think you hid some things like on the backside of his. She like put symbols or something on the backside of the
in his armoire. He doesn't have a true closet. We have like a big armoire for him. So behind all of his clothes, I put a huge like mural of it's a symbol of travel, and it says like make your own journey or something. And then inside of his book cabinets, I put it's a phase that'll pass, like with the moon cycles. And so I've done all these I've planted things around his room. And even if he notices them, he doesn't care because he's like, it would take too much effort to take it down. I'm just gonna leave it. But even the colors, like I changed the colors in his room and I painted it and I made things fresh to try to bring in new energy for him. So
and how's that working so far?
You know what?
Because we've been doing this since like January, right?
He broke up with Cielo. He broke up with a girl that was, definitely a negative draw on him. One of those, she's young, there's no judgment on her, but she likes drama or feeds it, and he is like the savior type, or the like, come here, little broken bird, I want to help you. And so then he can't let
He's a
people
Scorpio.
go.
We can't help
He's a
it.
Scorpio. So, and she loved that he was very attentive, and she made sure that there were always problems so that he needed to be attentive. So it was a cycle of emotional, I don't want to say abuse, but kind of a little bit manipulation at least. But okay, so this is moving objects around in your house, or knowing that you have random objects versus things that nourish you. As a huge reminder, if you want to think about Feng Shui more than anything else, like, don't worry about that it's like Chinese and it's ancient and all the other ways they used to practice this. The way that we incorporate the practice into our daily lives now is really to just think about our homes and our spaces as sacred, as not allowing trash and filth and people with negativity or thieves or like just bad stuff. You wouldn't like bring your trash in from outside and set it in your living room, right? Like, we just all understand how bad that is on so many levels. Feng Shui is like that. It's like making your space sacred for you, every space, and keeping it that way, and making sure that other people in your home acknowledge and appreciate and keep it that way too, because that's not always easy. My husband and my son do not practice Feng Shui with me, but if you ask them about it, they absolutely know why certain things are in certain places. And they'll say like, don't mess with her Feng Shui. Don't do it. Don't move that potted plant. It has a purpose. So that one of my things is like, I used to therapy shop at Goodwill a lot, right? Time to kill, and like go there and find all kinds of cool things that I had no idea what they were for. But I was like, I could use that for something. I had to really get over that. So that I stopped crowding my house full of random stuff, because then I would just have all these cool trinkets and I'm like, I have no idea what that's for, but it looks cool. And then you're just overloaded. So you got to think about, you got to clean it and dust it and move it and store it. And
yeah, where does it go? That's the
it
thing.
went
like,
back to
where
Goodwill.
Where does
That's
it go?
where it went.
Yeah, my stuff goes back to Goodwill too.
It lived in my house for a little bit and then it went back.
Yep. Been there, done that.
So the last thing that we want to hit on is, as far as like sort of principles for Feng Shui. Remember that things that are unused, broken, or dirty are stuck energy. Just think of them like that. If you are not using it, if it's broken, if it's dirty, something that you just haven't paid attention to, this is where stuck energy gets in your house, lives, stays, and breeds. I'll tell you what, if you start a collection of something, you'll find that other people will add to it for you. They'll be like, oh, I see you collect tiny dolls from weird places. And before you know it, every time somebody goes on a trip or goes anywhere, you're going to have more tiny dolls in your house. And then you're just going to have all this shit that you can't get rid of. You're like, oh, everybody keeps buying me these things.
Oh my God, I did that with shot glasses. I have so many shot glasses from when I travel. Like, I go to every airport and buy a shot glass. I had like rows and rows of
She doesn't
them.
even drink alcohol, you guys.
I don't even do shots. Okay.
Love
I
that.
just have all these shot glasses, which then had to be dusted. So now they're somewhere. I think I might have given them away,
I hope so.
or they might be out in the garage.
Oh,
I don't know.
Stuck in.
I did just give a whole bunch of stuff away this weekend. One of the things about giving things away, so I just have to say this, Jayme and I both struggle with this. It's like, but I paid XYZ for that, like I paid $30 for that shelf, or I paid $25 for that chair. Or, sometimes you have this monetary thing and where you're like, I just can't give it away. But actually, when you think about the way I think about it now is it's going to be able to serve somebody else much better than it's going to be able to serve me. I don't need it. And I'm hoping that it ends up in somebody's home who really needs that shelf or that chair. And it really adds value to their life. Because for me, the only value it had was some money that I spent some time ago. But since then, now I have this freaking chair that I don't even like anymore. And it's just been in my garage collecting dust. I finally took it to Goodwill this past weekend. So
I'm so proud of you. Celebrate our wins.
Well, I also gave away all this stuff that was Cameron's, she had all this stuff from when he was younger, like Batman paraphernalia and stuff for the wall. I tried to sell it on Facebook Marketplace and it didn't sell because probably the pandemic or whatever. And she's like, well, but I paid, it's worth money. And like, well, yeah, okay. Not really.
So then we were just like, yeah, get rid of it, Mom.
Finally you're just like, well, it's been sitting there for like a year and a half in that same box. And like, what is it doing?
I forgot about it.
It's
she could have never told me about it.
I did not forget about it because I would go out there and look at it and be like, That really needs to go somewhere. So it just went to the Goodwill this weekend. All right. So now I think, so those were the principles. Hopefully you got some of that. I know it's kind of a lot to absorb. If you have like zero exposure to Feng Shui, just hang in there because we're going to get you a little more detail and hopefully a little better understanding. We're going to show you.
We're going to share a screen.
We're going to share a screen.
Oh,
We're going to,
where's the button for that?
I don't.
Okay. So we're brand new to the sharing screen. Oh, look,
Click
green
on
and green.
share screen. And you want
Did you
the,
already have it open?
I do, it's Excel.
This.
Oh, is that
Okay.
it?
Share. Woo! We did it.
Wait, no, that's not it.
Wait, can you guys share a screen? Just nod yes if you can share a screen.
Hold on. That's not it though. This is the beginner witch series.
Oh, well, I thought I went to Excel.
Feng Shui energy centers, Feng Shui map.
There
Can
we
you
go.
guys see the Feng Shui map?
It's in Excel.
It's in
No,
Excel.
No, they can't
Okay,
see it.
so share.
Your screen sharing is paused.
Okay, so resume share now.
Okay.
Uh,
There. Now
Wait,
it's
why is
sharing.
it clicking that? No, it can't. It's okay. Stop sharing.
Well, okay, so you have to go to this one.
It's not there though. It's not
I
on my.
can see your screen, but I can't see what you're trying to show me.
Well, what you
Yeah,
need.
it's weird. It won't show the internet part.
No, that's not true.
I can see your desktop.
Yeah. Behind here, but you can't see this.
I
now.
can't see the document you're trying to show me.
Weird. All right. Well, we definitely thought we were going to have this figured out, but first time screen sharing, hang in there.
Yeah, just give us a
Go.
second because I think
New share.
new share.
Oh,
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
Share.
I see. I clicked on the wrong image when I hit share.
Okay. So now,
Yep,
now
okay.
you should be seeing
Yes.
the
Yep.
Nine boxes.
9 squares.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to let you
Mhm.
talk through this.
All right, you guys. You can find a million things out there on the internet, but I want to keep this really, really simple for you guys. So if you want to search this up later, you're going to find maps that look different. That's okay. Use whichever one you're comfortable with because you'll find that that middle box that says help, when they make these maps, sometimes that is in the shape of an octagon. So Ba means 8. So this is 8 energy centers. And health is always at the center of these. And when it's a stop sign type shape, they actually then make each little section that comes off from that stop sign more like a ray of light more than a square. So whichever map you feel comfortable using, I just like this one. It's simple. My house is more square. You can elongate this if your house is like long and narrow, or you can make it go either way you want to. But the most important thing to know about the Bagua map, the energy map here, is that these first 3 squares at the bottom, skills and knowledge, career, helpful people, and travel. That line always sits at the front of your house where your entryway is. Now, if you use a side door and don't use your house's main front door, that's okay. That's still where that line needs to lie. That just might mean that you're entering from the side into like the creative energy center and children or whatever. But when you lay it over the top of your house as like a little sketch, and don't worry about it being perfect, because the other thing with this is, even though we have these nice, beautiful little square boxes, everything blends together in a home. Our homes are not built into these tiny squares. So it's really more about focusing on an area rather than like a drawn line in your home, you know, where you're like, on this side of the line is love and relationships, and on this side has to be fame and reputation, and they can't touch, and you can't have fire stuff over on this side and whatever. They're meant to blend together. So when people usually talk about the energy map here, you're gonna be standing at the front of your house looking all the way to the left corner, and that's gonna be your prosperity corner, easy peasy. And if you're looking to the, oh, I said that wrong. Did I say left? Yeah. And then if you're looking to the right corner of your house, when you're at your door, that's going to be the love and relationships. So this is if you have a very standard house with a front door that, you know, kind of lines up with maybe a garage or not. But what Kat and I decided when we were talking about this, because houses and the way things are built are so, like, there's so many, there's no way we could go over every developer's idea of what a house should look like. We decided to focus on lay this over your bedroom. Like, just think about your bedroom that you sleep in. this square, this Bagua map, the energy centers can be laid just in your bedroom. So if you go to the door of your bedroom, this might be an easier way to think about it at first. Look to your left corner, that's going to be your prosperity corner in your room. If you look to your right corner, that's going to be your love and relationships corner in a room. And if you can start in a room and apply this, it might be easier than trying to look at your whole house at first, just as getting an idea. Like I've been doing Feng Shui for a pretty long time. And even when I came in and did my mom's house, I was like, wait, I'm confused. How does the kitchen fall here? And like her house is more long and narrow rather than, I don't know, going back. So spatially in my head, it was like, I kept getting confused about where her energy centers were. But as you sort of make a drawing of it underneath this map, lay it over the top, you get an idea of where your energy centers are in the home. And then it's always okay to blur the lines. So remember, if you learn anything, blur the lines. There are no cut and dry lines where things have to go. In general, the health is in the center of the home, which is usually like the kitchen or living room. But I don't know.
It depends
I've
on
only
the
lived in so
home.
many houses. I don't know. I don't know what all houses look like. So if this is for an apartment, if this is for a dorm room, it's the same thing. That career box normally signifies if like things were laid out, I hate to use the word perfect, but if they were laid out in exact measurements, your front door would enter in that career section, and then you would span from there around to the different areas. So that is really, I mean, that's the explanation of the Bagua map. If you want to make it complicated, I urge you not to. Because if you have that desire to really cut and like section it off to be exact, that's not going to be as helpful as what you place in your centers and keeping things clean and having meaning. That's more important than making sure that you have an equal space for love and relationships, for fame, and for prosperity. That's less important to have equal space. It's more important about what you have in the space and things that function and are good for you.
Well, and if you look at the picture that we have for the meetup, you'll see there's an image of the yin and yang sign in the center, and then it's an octagon shape, and then there's 8 energy centers around it. So while I couldn't draw an octagon in Excel, but I wanted to depict what these look like, what these energy centers look like, you can think of that like the center of your house is health, and then from there, from going out in kind of a radial, from the center of the house is all the other energy centers. But the big thing is, again, as Jayme said, when you're standing at your front door is either going, depending on where your front door is situated on your house. So mine happens to be in the center of my house,
but more over here.
But if your front door is to the left, then your front door is in skills and knowledge, and then careers next to it, and then help with people, or maybe your door is all the way to the right of your house if you're facing the front of it. So this kind of gives you your bearings of where you are with your energy centers. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. And again, you've got walls, right? So behind me is actually the wall between my health wall and my career. No, I was thinking this room. So this space that we're in right here, that we're sitting in, is actually a blend of health and creativity and children is what it bumps up against. So on this wall, because health is associated with the color yellows, we're going to give you some of that information too. But I have all this sunflowers and stuff back here. So I did that, but I'm also blending into the creative area, which, I've got all this artwork and stuff like that going on. So,
yeah. The other big thing is, in order to do Feng Shui, you don't have to have a certain style type in your home whatsoever. So whatever you want to decorate with that you love and feel comfortable with and connected to, those things are okay. I don't want anybody to think that they have to go like minimalistic and only shop at IKEA or something crazy like that, where it's all small, compartmentalized, everything's put away. It doesn't have to be that way, but we'll go through more of that, I think, in week 2. So we stop sharing now?
Yeah, I think
we're ready
so.
for that. Okay. Back to regular view. Yay.
Okay, so that was the Bagua map, which is available in the link for you. All right, so I think Jayme already hit on this, but where to start is going to be at your front door. Go to if you were going to start right now, you would go to your front door, and you would look into your house and just see, you know,
Do you want me
where
to
am I?
explain that?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, you look into your house and see like where's energy stopping. You can go
Yeah.
with that.
So what it is it's really the difference between a well-defined space and not. If you guys have been to an IKEA, I don't know why that comes to mind now.
She
But
loves IKEA.
I
That's
do
why it
love
comes to
IKEA.
mind.
I love IKEA. Okay, but imagine it's a place like IKEA or a zoo or any other public space where they really understand how people are going to flow through their environment. So IKEA specifically has you come in a certain way. You're led, you could go other ways, but you just kind of naturally gravitate towards an escalator that takes you to the top floor, which is the show floor. And then there, the way that they segment up the different rooms that they've built is you kind of reach this room and then you want to go to that room and you're just naturally drawn to go through the space like that. There's not obstructions. It's not a crowd in. You're very free to go through these spaces. And so when I walk into a home, and depending on what you're met with, like you could have really boxy furniture that's like, oh, I gotta like shuffle around this thing and to get to people, and the greeting is kind of weird. And it's the way that we set up our homes in which energy can flow. So I want you to think about your couches, your dressers, your TV, like they are mountains, like they are big trees, like there should be a stream that could flow through. Or better yet, I think the wind.
The wind.
Imagine you could see the breeze come into your house and where it would go. Where would it hit and fold back on itself? What would it get stuck behind and create a whirlwind? If you can imagine the wind coming into your house and how it would flow from the front door through maybe a back door or a back window or each bedroom's window or whatever, that's how you can understand how energy flows in your house. So I had a friend who loved sectional couches. And every year, I swear, their sectional couch kept getting bigger and bigger. So at first it was like a 3-person sectional couch. Then they turned it into a U-shaped sectional couch. Then they got a bigger one. And you had to skirt around the entire room because they wanted a bed in their living room. And I thought, I don't know where you were trying to go with this, but it's a very uncomfortable setup because then to talk to anybody, you have to like go all the way around this big enclosure of a couch and then get into this square. And then you're kind of stuck in there too. So it's awkward when you leave. It takes you like 5 minutes to get out away from everybody. And you're like scooting past people and your butts and faces. And there's a better flow. There's things that can be done for that. So that was the air coming into your space. Picture where it might roll up, cause stagnation, where it can flow freely. And then that's another thing, that if you have walls that you can't, like you can't move a wall in your house. Kat has a wall right when you enter her front door. She's put a mirror there, which is one of the fixes we're going to talk about, because when things hit mirrors, it's a reflection back or it pushes out. It's just another source to like get the energy flowing again. So I'm going to leave it with that and move on to the next thing because I can talk forever. So
Okay.
I'll stop now.
So as Jayme mentioned, every house is going to be different. And I see Coach David lives on a boat.
I know. I saw that. What do you do when you live on a boat? I love that.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why you couldn't lay the map over. I mean, there's got to be an entry point on the boat, right?
There's going to be a natural entryway.
Yeah. There's
And
going to be an
then-
entry point, which is where your career would be, is
Yeah.
at your entry point, I assume,
Mhm.
depending on, or unless it's at the rear of the boat. I don't know how you get on a boat. I've never.
Well, I think if it's a houseboat, I've only been on a couple houseboats, but the entryway into the house part of the houseboat, that door that you always come through, that's where I would lay your bagua. And then your outside area, which is again something we'll cover in week 3, because houses are not built in perfect squares. When you have these extra areas that extend out beyond your guas, that is room for you to make like extra donations or add extra colors and be like, I can really amplify this. My house has a whole extra like back porch on it that's pretty big. So my last 3 guas, which is love and relationships, fame and reputation, and then prosperity. Yes, I have extra area on my house for that. And I was like, well, that's great. Like with what I'm doing, all right, love and relationship, I'll take it. Fame and reputation, I guess reputation's important. My word means a lot. And then prosperity. Oh yeah, I'll just put some jade plants out there. It's a perfect fit. That's what I did. So, and aloe. Okay.
All right. So we're going to do a little imagination. So imagine that this is your bedroom. We're going to break up your bedroom into these blocks. So depending on where your door is, it's in the middle or if it's like
it's along
my
the
door,
wall.
yeah, where is it? So
Mhm.
just imagine taking the Bagua map and setting it over your bedroom, and then defining your spaces in there. It might be easier to think about that. So, and just divide up that space. I'm not going to go through each of them because you
Yeah,
saw
we
the
did
map.
that,
So, let's see. So every home is going to be styled differently,
I have a question.
decorated.
Oh,
The Bagua map, when you lay it on your home
Mhm.
and on the front door, and then you take a room and that door faces a different direction, do you take the map and just completely change that direction?
you sure can. Yeah. This is where it's a very fluid practice. Make it work for you.
Okay.
So like some people don't get a whole house that they can do energy work on, but they can do it on their room. And it doesn't disturb the rest of the house because all you're really doing is creating balance in each room. So you could essentially put the Bagua map over each room in your house and do it that way if you wanted to. The reason that we lay it over the whole house and create bigger energy centers is so that the flow and the connection that you have is bigger. But if you live in a smaller space, you do it for a smaller space. So
Thank
there
you.
is no like wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I see Joe Ellen commented about using Chinese elements. I don't think I have any Chinese elements in my house.
Like, well, when we say Chinese elements, do we mean
Like Chinese art and things like
well,
that.
not just, but there's bells. I have coins, so I lived in Asia for 4 years. I lived in Japan specifically. So I have things that are from that area. I used to have all of the fortune cats.
Yeah,
I
but
love them.
feng shui does not mean decorating your house with Chinese art.
Well, that's
Right.
yeah. You don't
That-
have
And that's kind of what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to adopt. And I said, you know what? That's not what brings joy to my
No,
No,
yeah,
like you.
no.
Some pieces, I have
Yeah.
some pieces like the coins and things like that and the dragon.
Mhm.
That resonates with me. But I said,
Yeah.
no, I want to use these others. She got really upset with me. And I go, you know what? I have to, yeah, I know. So clearly I didn't ever use her again.
Right. Yeah, no, that's not.
I mean, but that's, some people.
Well, good for you for standing your
Yes.
ground
Yes.
and knowing
yeah.
your own mind and being
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's just not going to work for me. I think
Right.
maybe I need to find someone else who like actually
Right.
thinks like
Do-
me or
Right.
Listen. Yeah.
will listen,
Yeah.
because because I don't have, if I have anything in here, it's not distinctly Chinese. There's nothing in my house, but there's colors that are associated with each of the guas. And so what I tried, one of the very first things I did was started moving some things around or putting like in career, which is at my front door. I got some additional black items to just like balance out the white because there was a lot of white there. So I got some black elements. And so now when you walk in, it's like black and white rugs, black and white runner, a black vase.
Yeah.
So
She didn't quite go all black. She like
I can't go all black because my house isn't like that.
yeah. We have tropical houses. It's harder to you can't have an all black entryway.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
you could, but it wouldn't match with our thing. So feng shui is sometimes we can want to like dive in so deep where it's like this wall's color is black. And you're like, all right, so I need to paint the walls black and I need to get a black carpet and I need to hang. But no, it's just adding elements of that then bring your eye to the next section. So the map that we showed you guys, I'm going to add to that next week so that you can see more of the colors. And I'm going to walk through sort of how the colors flow and go into each other. It's going to be beautiful. But thank you for sharing that, Joellen and Joan. Thank you for the questions and getting some clarity on that. I don't know where we were now, Mom. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so here we're talking about style. So no matter the style, no matter your style, whatever that is, you could be farm, you could be contemporary, you could be minimalistic, you could be whatever. I don't know all the different
Rainbows
styles.
and butterflies.
Yeah, rainbows, butterflies. I'm very whimsical, so there's a lot of whimsy going on in my house. Whatever your style, just make sure that the items that you have in your house have a purpose and are put in a place intentionally.
Yes.
For example, if you like to sew or paint or make model cars, the best area of your home to keep these is in the creativity center of your house, the creativity energy center. But that might not always be practical depending on where that is.
Yeah, it might be your bathroom.
Yeah, it could be a bathroom, it could be your dining room, and you don't want all your sewing stuff in your dining room. So what you do in that situation is you store it in a place that makes sense and that's neat. All that stuff is neatly put away, and then you display some of your creations in your creativity center so that you capture that energy there.
Yeah. My creative and children's center is in 2 bathrooms. Literally the bathrooms back up to each other. So this is really fun to play with because I was like, well, people do, sit on the loo and get ideas. There's like reading papers and things or books. I don't do that. I like to be in and out pretty fast. I was in the military. I don't dilly-dally there. So then I was like, well, how do I bring creativity to a bathroom? So I found my creativity in artwork, and I chose artwork that was playful. The lines were not defined well. It's kind of like,
she has fishies. Don't you have one piece
In
of art
Cameron's
in
bathroom,
one of the bathrooms that's fishies?
so actually I put a picture in my son's bathroom that he painted when he was like 9 or 10. And it's a fish that's sort of in an anemone. It's like a clownfish, but it's blue. And he's okay with that. He usually doesn't let me display any of his art. It's on a pretty big piece of canvas. And then I bought a piece from Home Goods, which matches the colors and is also it looks like a kid may have done it, but it's a $40 or $50 piece of art. But it has that playful look to it where there's big splotches of paint. It's not all, super nice, or I don't know. When I say super nice, what I mean is like the Mona Lisa or something with a super big technique that you would recognize. It's playful. And then, so that's my son's bathroom. And then my husband and mine's bathroom backs up to that. So I only put one piece in our bathroom, but it's also a painting of like a beach scene sort of from overhead. And it's very, it looks like the painter just used the scrapey thing to make all the lines and put the people in there. So it's not crisp. It looks playful. It's artistic. I'm like, yeah. That's all I have in there for me. And I'm lucky because my tiles are white. So I got like, that was just unknowingly part of the design that I created because that was part of the creativity colors. So yeah, that's where my works go.
Okay. So we have some homework for you to do this week.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to explain it?
Oh, of course I do. I already forgot. Oh, yes. Okay. So I said this earlier when we had the Bagua map up. If you plan to return or watch the other videos and you want to learn more, print out a Bagua map. You can find tons of free ones. And remember, don't try to be too hard on yourself with getting things perfect. Have a general idea of what your spaces are. And next week, when we start talking through the spaces, it'll be such a great time for you guys to have questions to say, okay, well, here's my room and this is what I do, or this is what it looks like. Like, how do I fix this? Because I'm going to be for question and answers, I'll definitely be answering fixes, but we're going over more fixes in lesson 3. So get that map, define your home's energy centers, and you can definitely come with questions for next week that we can do at the end of the meetup, the end of the meeting. And then what else was it? Oh, so here's where the real work comes in. When I work with people trying to help them find probably harmony, peace, balance, and just like be happier when they're home and not overwhelmed by stuff, or like, why do they have a clutter problem? There's also a psychological aspect to this of why we collect things or don't work through stuff. So we're gonna want you to identify, you don't have to share it, your messiest energy center. So once you get that map laid out over your house, what is your messiest energy center?
Maybe it's your bedroom with all your laundry that you never put away. I used to do that a long time ago.
Never. I couldn't.
Well, when the kids were young, it was harder to get laundry put away.
I mean, if you have a garage, it might be your garage, and who knows what energy center that is for you, but what's in your
Knowledge.
Her garage is her knowledge energy center, and she's like, it's a mess.
I don't know what to do with it. I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna put fixes in there, but it's not a super high priority.
So your messiest, but then which of your energy centers has the most stored or unused items? So figure out where your storage closets are at, where your unused items are being held up in your house. because that's also going to give you some insight into some defining problems in your life, or seeing where there's stagnant energy that we can help get it moving, so that you have, you know, because what you really use Feng Shui for, you guys, is then you start solving problems in your life. If you have symptoms of depression, if you want a new relationship, if you are looking for a new job, if you want to grow in some way, Feng Shui is all about making the environment better for you to grow, to be your better self in, which is why I love it. And then I want you to identify the room in your home, or even if it's like, if you are in a dorm or living in or if you're like renting a room from somebody, but in your space, identify the area that you would want remodeled by like a professional person. And by remodel, I don't necessarily mean
Makeover,
a makeover. That's the word.
like the makeover.
A
Yeah.
makeover. So somebody that would come in and completely wipe the space out, and then bring in all new furniture, painting, paints, colors, bed sheets, whatever it is. And so identify that, because that's going to be an area of your within your energy center for yourself that you want growth out of. Can't wait to see you next week.
Next week.
Do
look
good
forward to-
work.
Yeah.
Hit me up if you need me.
Yep. Reach out if you need
Bye.
anything.
Bye,
Bye
you
everyone.
guys.